Welcome back to another video here at LGT Transport. I'm Christian, and today we'll be going over the two tankers you see over my left shoulder. The first one is an oxygen tanker. I should say it's an oxygen service. It's classified as a CGA 341 by the Compressed Gas Association. It is a non-spec tank, which basically means that under a certain pressure, the DOT does not regulate a tanker pressure vessel. Now, it's still mandated to have a DOT inspection, but as long as it's under 25 PSI, we run ours at 17, they can roll down the road as a non-spec tank, as they call it. The trailer farthest from me over my left shoulder is classified as an MC 331 tanker. That's in CO2 service. That's an insulated spec tank. And that one requires annual inspections called VK inspections, is 5-year inspections. Every 5 years it does an internal and a pressure known as the IP inspections. But today we'll be going over the grease fittings on both of these tankers. On the MC331 CO2 tanker, there's grease fittings around the pump that we'll be addressing. On the CGA 341 tanker, we'll be addressing the driveline. These are the special fittings that you need to grease in these particular instances for most of our fleet. And if you like our videos, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell for more content as it comes out, and leave a comment below. So first we're talking about our CGA 341 tanker and oxygen service. Going into the pony motor box here, we have not a pump in this case, but we do have the pony motor, as we call it. And there's a PTO that attaches to the pony motor, which of course connects to the driveline going to the back of the trailer. And there are two sets of grease zerk fitting, is what I'm going to call it. But you have the operating shaft of the clutch arm. It's a single action clutch, and we'll get a shot of that here in a little bit. But there's that, and then there's also the throwout bearing. Just like your standard clutch operation, you got a bearing that allows you to put it into gear and out of gear, and we have to grease that as well. So you've got your throwout bearing, you grease that, and for access to the throwout bearing as well as the clutch mechanism for any adjustment, say it's getting loose or something like that, or it's getting too tight, you got these bolts which look in really good shape, but there's one here, one on the other side. You lift that off, and that's how you get access to that. But there's a line that runs down there to the throwout bearing, and of course you got to make sure you hit that every time you grease a trailer. And then down here you have the operating shaft, or at least the one on this side, and that of course works on that operating shaft that goes through your clutch handle here and allows you to put it in gear, right? And that is all the grease zerks in this compartment here. All right, so we talked about the pony motor cabinet. Now we're going to talk about the driveline. Okay, you have 2 large cabinets and you have 3 small cabinets. In the large cabinets, you're going to have fittings, but you have 2 pillow block bearings and a U-joint that needs greased in each of these large cabinets. And then you have a pillow block bearing, not a pillow block bearing, you have a U-joint in each of the small ones. You'll need to rotate the drive shaft to see the grease zerk. You may also need to grind down. I've seen this where they grind down the edges to make it kind of flat on the grease gun tool, and that way it'll fit in between the U-joints. Otherwise, they also have a needle nose grease joint you can get that'll actually let you grease just that zerk through that specialty fitting. But that's what we're talking about here, greasing these. This is the specialty application when it comes to our cryogenic trailers in terms of the driveline. All right, so just something special here in this back corner. We already pointed it out, but you've got your 2 pillow block bearings, right? And you've got this kind of hidden one back in this driveline here, which you can kind of see by pointing in there. And make sure to hit that one. A lot of people will miss it back here, and then of course it'll rot out faster, basically. Get a lot of rust build up in there. As you can see, they get quite rusty. But just make sure never to miss that one. So on these cryogenic tanks, we have a specialty pump on these called a centrifugal pump. If you bring the camera here, you can see sort of the innards of it, but basically what this is a non-grease lubricated pump. In essence, it's lubricated by the cryogenic liquid that it delivers. And we'll go ahead and open up these back doors here, get probably a better look at what it is. Starting with a loud bang. And looking here, you can obviously see it's got a direction of rotation. But this does not take any grease, simply because what oxygen does with grease. Any oil, oxygen is reactive with it. And so if you have any grease in here and it reacts with the oxygen, you get a combustion, which of course is bad in our business. So they actually lubricate this just by the liquid of the product you're hauling. So now we're in front of a CO2 tanker, classification MC331. This one's not near as, I don't want to use the word complex, but not as near as full of grease zerks. So basically you have your basic ones like on the cryogenic trailer. There's a single action PTO, as we call it. And you have the grease zerk for the throwout bearing, and then the grease zerk for the operating shaft on this side. On the other side, you're going to have a grease zerk for the other side of the output shaft. Operating shaft, I'm sorry. And then on the pump, you're going to have a grease zerk fitting on both sides. As I was just explaining, the cryogenic pump is lubricated by the liquid in the tank. So the cryogenic liquid actually creates the lubrication for the centrifugal pump. This one's a sliding vane pump, and it's going to have two ends to it with bearings and mechanical seals. And you actually have to grease both sides for those bearings to get properly lubricated. In order for the pump to work correctly, right? And so we'll show you those grease zerks, but that is essentially everything on this trailer in terms of pump operation for specialty grease zerks. So that'll wrap it up today. Showed you all the grease zerk fittings, or as I call them, specialty grease zerk fittings on our CO2 and our cryogenic tanks. And the reason I made this video is I wanted to get basically something out there that you could show a shop what to grease. When you're looking at one of these tanks, they don't know where all the grease zerks are because they didn't make the trailer, right? They don't own the trailer. They're not responsible for knowing where these things are. So the best thing you can do is show them where. And if they have any questions, you show them the video. But also it kind of gives you a glimpse into the tanker operations that our drivers do out there for people not in the industry. So if you like what you saw, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, notification bell for new content, and go ahead and like the video. Thanks for watching.